Well, good morning, Teddies People. And Teddy ain't here. He's off somewhere, I think it's in Spain, watching his beloved Fulham. Uh, he had the opportunity of travelling to see his team play away, as many teams are at the moment before they start into the heavy schedule of the leagues. And heavy schedule it is. But it's very interesting that uh, so many people from here will travel to watch. And Teddy is one of them. He's a passionate supporter of Fulham, has been for a lifetime, and that's where he is. And if he doesn't take some opportunity of discovering some sunshine, ha ha ha, we're not exporting it. It's inherent there at this time of the year. So he's bound to find that the weather is not much different to here. But he would be very foolish, would he not? Would you not think so? No, indeed, you would not. Um, just sitting around here, just so I got the right buttons to push when the time comes. Uh, so he asked me just to do a half hour or so this morning and keep you happy with the fact that the news service, which is taking over from Mirador, it's not really taking over, and I'll explain that towards the end of the show. It's going to be in parallel with Mirador World, and I think he's calling it Lewis Television and Beyond. And we're going to work in cooperation. Uh, he believes there are some international and national events that will be of interest to Louisians, and that he can put a local spin on some of them. I, on the other hand, believe that international affairs are part of the global village, and that many things that are of concern to Louisians will be of concern to people in other parts of the world. And I am an internationalist. I've worked for Reuters, BBC, PBS, other CBC, CNBC, people with an international sphere, apart from traveling to as many as 40 countries in the world, working as a journalist. Excuse me, something creating a problem there. And so, Mirador World will continue to do many of the things that you've been used to. Tomorrow morning, we shall still have Richard Barton and Phil Meredith with the two Bs, the two barristers, discussing some point of law, with me lurking in the background because they sometimes like to get the view of the non-expert, as it were. Me with a look at some angle, some aspect of life here that is of interest to people abroad, and that could be anything from the Saxon kings to the history of Clevedown. Segueing into Harry Atherton with his analysis of the world news, and it is masterful. He understands what's going on in many parts of the world, and he has statistics and figures and data, not at his fingertips, but up here, to be able to analyze rather better than most people that you see on national and international television. Because we've gone through a division, we're slowly rebuilding. Melissa Conte will be back from New York pretty soon. Getting inside AI, artificial intelligence, the helper, the secretary, if you like, but also the very, very deep insight viewer into a good many things. Artificial intelligence. John Prideaux will be back explaining the innards, the workings, and what's happening in that sector. We have jointly on both channels V, the IT expert, and we shall be sharing people who are experts in wine and food and other things over the coming months. It takes a lot of effort to put together a television channel. It really does. And I'm beginning to grey. I'm beginning to age a little. And I have to rely upon others to do some of the spade work. But we have got people coming along who are interested and recognize that the evolution of television is an interesting evolution indeed. Electronic media, and for that matter newspapers, have gone through interesting times in the last 200 years. And we are continuing to go through interesting times, but the same sort of pattern is emerging. Something gets embedded, like the television you've been used to. And then something comes along and upsets the apple cart, like Netflix. And people swing away, and they go and they chase Netflix. And then they begin to say, well, there are some things that we enjoyed about the old television. And their interest starts to swing back. Not totally, not wholly, but so that they're sharing their experiences. Sure, I feel like a movie tonight. On goes Netflix. But I also like watching or talking to that silly old bugger Hayes. Back they come to local television. And it's very interesting that one of our correspondents from New York, Suzanne Mucho, was talking to a film star the other day, the Top Gunman, at a cocktail party, whom she's known for a while, Tom Cruise. And he said, as one does to someone, do you know, what are you doing right now? And she mentioned that she was working for Mirador in the United Kingdom. And he said, you know, those of us at the top of the tree in the communications industry think that you've got it absolutely right. There is a swing back, not wholesale rush back, a swing back to local television, because the intimacy between presenter and viewer is such that it's something we miss. That isn't on Netflix. That isn't on Amazon. That isn't on many of the other channels, if you want to call them that, streaming organizations that are coming along, it tends to be a bit cold, a bit unhuman, no counter-reaction. So you see, what we provide at Mirador, whether it be Mirador World, or whether it be Mirador under its new banner, Lewis Television Beyond, is important in the social structure which we have today. So hopefully we're chasing the same dream, just going about it in different ways. Anyway, Teddy is off with his beloved Fulham. Today, I'm here, my bum glued to the seat, to have a little chat to you before going about my daily work. And what I have done, I've been on a learning curve because I've written several books and didn't know what to do with them. So I'm using AI, well, to tidy them up, make them look pretty, but also see how best to put them on a marketplace that is good for you, that you know where to tap if you want to read some of my stories, which many of you do. They were very popular when they were on Town and County magazine, which was a Lewis magazine. As far as I'm aware, it's still going, but in another part of the country. So hopefully we can bring some of those stories and others, because I do continue to write them, to you. Another book in the making for those people who look after elderly relatives or ill relatives. It's called Falling for Parky. It's a play on words because Parkinson makes you fall down, but also amusing stories about how I personally try to beat this dreadful disease. And they would look at me and say, "Well, you've got a smile on your face, Keith." Not all the time, I don't. It is a wearing and worrying disease, and if they could cure it tomorrow, I would be the first to say hurrah. They're not going to. First of all, it doesn't have priority, and secondly, it's a tough one to crack, because you can wake up on any given day and you don't know how it's going to affect you. And Carly Simon, you know, the lady who has been singing for yonks, "It's my party, I'll cry if I want to." Yeah, that's the lady. She has developed Parkinson's. And as she says, one of the things that she has to fight constantly, which I have to fight constantly, is you never know what you're going to face. And that can be a bummer. It really can. Because planning a day is not as easy as it is for you. It's not really, believe me. But anyway, some of my writings, some of my books, and we're delving back into the archives of Mirador, which has been going for well over 10 years, to see what interesting programs there may be from the past, because we forget what we made. And we'll re-show them so that you can remember them. Because one of the things that is important in our life is putting things in perspective. Some of our programs can help you do that. Oh, do you remember what it was like in 2010, 2015, 2020, 2025 for that matter? Well, we'll help you remember. Sometimes seriously, sometimes with a little laugh, a little giggle. But there you are, that's what we're all about. Now let me get serious, because there are a couple of things that I want to talk about from the Mirador world perspective, because these are certainly national, if not international, issues. And I was watching this morning the Minister for Inland Security, or whatever they call it, the lady in charge of trying to stop the boat people, the immigrants, the illegal ones. And she was talking about returning the hotels to our community. And it's very worthy. But one of the things that sprang to mind was when you talk about hotels and you talk about power and you talk about transport, nearly all of those sectors, and particularly health, are paying obscene amounts of money. Obscene amounts of money to their chief executives. And they are indeed making obscene amounts of money. Lloyd's Bank, which is only one of several, happens to be mine, so I'm interested in it, last year made $6.5 billion, pounds, not dollars, £6.5 billion. And the pound yesterday was trading at 1.3, so you work out how many dollars that may be in profit. Okay, a chunk of it goes to the government, but a chunk of it also goes to senior executives. At what cost? No more ATMs in small towns. No more branches at banks in small towns. We can do it remotely. I'm sorry, you can't. You are in a service industry, and service industries demand that you meet those people that you're serving. So get off the pot and stop this stupid road to what eventually will be your destruction. Monza, heard of it? Bit by bit you will. It's coming up on the outside rail. What's happening is a whole plethora of new banks are starting. And while it's not going to happen tomorrow, these banks will eventually start to be competitors, real competitors, to the international banks, the national banks. And what will they do then? They'll have no more assets to remove from their customers, no more satisfaction from their customer base. And I'm sorry, CXs, but the profits will drop. And that means that your salaries will drop. But then that'll be the next generation, won't it? Do we care? I fear not. I fear not. But we are in an age when equality is a nonsense, where we argue and fight about what a plumber should be paid. That's not a good example. They're paid quite well. What a cleaner should be paid. What somebody at the other end of the scale, to the chief executive, should be paid. And it becomes a nonsense. He makes $2 million, £2 million. I keep on quoting in dollars, I'm sorry. He makes £2 million a year. And I make less than 20,000. He buys his salt and pepper from the same place that I do and pays the same price. We build monuments to 18 to 22-year-olds who get paid £1 million a week for kicking at football. Oh, the argument is they've only got a short period of life in this business. They have skills that the rest of us don't. Well, I'm sorry. I have skills that the rest of you don't. I don't get paid anything. I do it because I love it, and because I think it's important, and because I think it helps our social fabric, even if I have difficulty in persuading others that that is so. It's incredibly stupid. Now, I don't believe what we should do is make everybody equal. I don't think that the car mechanic should be paid $2 million a year, or that the CEO of a bank should be paid £20 an hour. But I do think there should be a levelling process. It should start to come back to reasonable levels. The funny thing is, I've been studying Tom Paine and Edmund Burke, both 18th-19th century philosophers. They both believed in the same thing, reform, but they went about it two totally different ways. Paine believed in wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, action now, and it doesn't matter what you threw out with the bathwater. Burke, on the other hand, thought of reform, but let's be careful and not throw out with the bathwater the baby that we would find beneficial in a few years' time. Well, I tend, even though I'm a fan of Paine because he was such a rebel and a strong character, I favour Burke's philosophy. Don't chuck everything away. See what is valuable. But we're not learning. That's the point. We're not learning one little bit. We keep on creating huge companies that have to do with what you and I are doing. Whether it's the use of petrol in a car, going to the local doctor, or whatever. I believe we just have not studied sufficiently ways and means and methods. For instance, I would ask the question, would it not be better to maintain, for instance, local doctor's surgeries, where the local doctor knows you and just doesn't rely upon notes on a computer? When it comes to buying the huge amounts of specialist equipment, that we then have a larger unit that looks after the larger things and works hand in glove with the local doctor to make sure that the right people are getting the right treatment. It's just a thought, but surely it's worth exploring. and not the way that we do it at the moment. Wow. Well, we'll dissect this in Westminster, and then we'll have consultation programs. Well, the consultation programs quite often are populated by people who have a vested interest. I'm earning $500,000 a year, so let me take a look at this. Ooh, if we do away with that, I won't be earning $500,000 a year. Yeah. That's independent thinking, isn't it? Yeah. And that, to me, is where we need reform. We need reform of the people who are handling these institutions. The NHS, totally broken. And yet, when you meet a doctor face to face, or a nurse face to face, or a support member of a hospital staff face to face, they're charming and nice people and know their business. Where has it all gone wrong? We don't ask the question. We keep on with the same old structure. And if we talk reform, we put into place reformers who really don't want reform. They want to hang on to what they've got. So surely reform has to be looked at by independents. Those people who truly want reform to be investigated, and quickly. There is no need whatsoever for a commission to take 3 years to come to a conclusion which is going to be debated for another 3 years, and eventually nothing is ever done. That's not reform. That's rubbish. But we don't challenge it, do we? After all, it's government. And that's where I want to go next. Because local government needs reforming badly. The local government, good morning. Pam is here. I'm all on my own this morning, so she's come to look after me, make sure I don't fall down, make sure that I don't shout at you too hard. She's a hard worker, and she's exactly somebody that I'm talking about. The system needs reform. The young ladies that I meet who come as carers are delightful. But I get into a constant battle with a county council about how I should be paying for them. And the county council can do nothing but send out threatening letters. Ha! Threatening letters! It's the only thing they understand. Oh, but they've got some slogan writers somewhere. We are concerned about the quality of your life. No, you're not. You're only concerned about whether the money that you collect goes into the right pocket. And you don't do it terribly well. I am paying for some invoices, the county council, which I'm not challenging, although I should. And where are we? Please make out a direct debit. Okay, done that. Agreed. Direct debit will come off monthly. Yep. Direct debit comes off. And what happens next? I get a letter from the county council. My gosh, this is strange. The county council sending a letter of thanks? Not a bit of it. Here's the invoice. You haven't paid it. We're going to take you to court if you don't. Well, hang on. Let me double check. Make sure the banks didn't get it wrong. Came off all right. Why isn't it registering on their system? And if it's not registering on their system, why do they threaten and harass older people. Surely, if they really worry about the quality of life, they will know that bullying, the sort of which they undertake on a routine way, can not only upset older people, but also cause death. So what do we have to do? Say, listen, murderers, before we actually get you in front of the gallows, take a look at your systems. Let's get some reform. Nobody says that, but I'm going to say it. You cause, indirectly, deaths, when in fact your stated aim is to keep people alive. Not only keep them alive, you give them a high quality of life and a happy life. You do exactly the opposite. And that's a rubbish, that's a nonsense. So what do we do? Well, reform can start off with the fact that the leaders of the political parties who form the chair and the councils, members, and so on and so forth, they don't need changing. Well, the system doesn't need changing. Democratic system and so on. And most politicians are useless tits anyway. What it needs is looking at, we've had the same chief executive for a good 20 years. Who monitors the chief executive? Who monitors his performance? Well, there are vague sort of organizations which take a look once every 15 years or so as to a performance of a local council, which incidentally has managed to lose £55 million. And they come to the conclusion that, well, they use a couple of threats to them. And then they come back and they say, oh, yeah, reform has been made. No, it hasn't. They carry on in exactly the same way. So that system doesn't work. If we're going to reform it, let's reform it. Let's get real reform underway and take a very close look at these councils. What have we done? A negative step. We've done away with the local council that perhaps knew better than most what's happening in its own constituency, in favour of something bigger, even more remote, away from the people that they serve. Who thinks these things up? Well, basically, I think we managed to get into situ in these places people who fail exams. They fail their exams, wherever those exams may be for, finance or whatever. They can't get a job in the private sector, so they go into the public sector and are welcome. And then what they do is they learn from the politicians how to go blah, 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 creating a black is white situation and going nowhere and keeping the same old thing that makes sure they get a salary check at the end of the month. Very quickly, let's turn to migrants. Because once again, here is a classic example of where governance goes wrong. What are we doing? What does a reform do? It takes people from local hotels and puts them into army camps, controversially. It's going to take another 2 years to clear out people from the hotels. Sorry, the people that we've got and continue to come are moved from point A to point B. That's reform? Now, in my book, it's not. Much more money, much more interest, much more analysis has got to be made of how to stop these people getting into the country in the first place. Now, pictures on the BBC this morning showed a great big long rubber boat with hundreds of people jammed on it. They were lucky to get across the channel alive. Well, we don't know where they're coming from, cry the French. We don't know where they're coming from, cry the British. We can't stop them, say the Spanish. These are the same governments that can tell through drones whether somebody has got 5 men in an army camp on their border or 500. They don't know where they're coming from. The use of technology to discover where these people are assembling, because you can't get a couple of hundred people or so moving to a given point on a regular basis without somebody noticing. Let's start using the technology we've got. No, I'm not saying don't use it for military purposes. We must defend our borders. But defend them on a civil level as well as on a military level. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And the consequences are building up and continue to build no matter what governments do, because they're not thinking straight. They're not thinking how to stop the problem at source. Our systems, social welfare systems, housing, so on, a bursting point. Why? Because we get hundreds in every day coming in crying, I need medical treatment, I need housing, I need food, I need lodging. Okay, we say. Okay. What an absolute bunch of rubbish. Yeah. Oh, I'm in 37 minutes carrying on with this. I'm ready for my coffee, and Pam is busy making one for me over there. So I'm going to say toodle pip. But this is Keith Hayes, hopefully a voice for the people, who will be regularly seen on Mirador World and at invitation seen by Teddy on Lewis Television Beyond. And remember, Tom Cruise says, you're going in the right direction, Keith. We're going in the right direction. You don't have to watch us all the time. Just dip in and out. That makes us quite happy. There you go. That's it for today. Oh, there's Pam. Look, she's busy in the background. Right, y'all. Here we go. Toodle pip. I shall see you tomorrow morning at 8:45 with Phil and Richard and the 2 Bs. And later on in the morning, here's Harry. And who knows what else might be thrown in there. Toodle pip.